Hello everyone, this is Ponderosa North for the love of Bonanza. Today I'm going to focus on Pernell Roberts' theater career. I know people say, or they used to say, even they say today, that he left Bonanza. You never saw him, he never did anything. But it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. He did a great deal, and when I started researching his theater career, I was quite impressed by everything that he did do. And you can't really compare him to his other cast mates. Michael Landon was literally in our living rooms every week for 30 years. And so he was very visible. He did a lot of game shows. He did, Hollywood Squares, and he did a lot of interviews on Johnny Carson. So he was always around. You always saw him. Pernell did 2 interviews, I think. He was on the Mike Douglas show a few times, but you never really saw him. He did the occasional guest spot on, Mission Impossible and Big Valley and things like that. But he wasn't in your living rooms every week. And of course, Lauren went on to do a great deal of television work afterwards. Did a couple of series. I mean, the man was in Roots, for heaven's sakes. And he did a lot of narrating and a lot of guest spots and public appearances. So Michael and Lauren were always there. Pernell, not so much after he left Bonanza. We can't really compare it to Dan. Obviously, he passed away in '72. I fear that after Bonanza, he would have had a terrible time overcoming his stereotype of Hoss. And he was so opposite to the character of Hoss. It would have been I think it would have been a difficult time for Dan Blocker after Bonanza, because he was so ingrained in that character for all of America. So as far as Pernell is concerned, I'm going to show you a bunch of pictures of his theater work in a few minutes, and I'm also going to read a few quotes of his about the theater. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to run down a list in no particular order of some of the theater work that he did. And it started in 1950, his theater work. So these are not chronological at all. It's just a list of the plays that Pernell Roberts performed in. The Inspector General, School for Wives, The Adding Machine, Pygmalion, The Delectable Judge, The Firebrand, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, 2 for the Seesaw, 1,000 Clowns, Any Wednesday, The King and I, The Sound of Music, Night of the Iguana, Measure for Measure, Dark of the Moon, 3 Men on a Horse, Ladder to the Moon, She Stoops to Conquer, The Scarecrow, Twelfth Night, Mr. Acularius, Julius Caesar, Playboy for the Western World, The Glass Menagerie, there's more. Tonight in Samarkand, The Lovers, The Clearing in the Woods, Taming of the Shrew, Duchess of Malfi, Captain Brassbound's Conversion, Macbeth, The Music Man, Gone with the Wind, Camelot, King John. That's a lot of theater. He did, and it's not like today where you can hop on a plane and fly to San Francisco and see him in a play. If only. Back then, you had to wait for him to come to you. I don't think he ever did a play in Toronto that I know of. Because if he had, I would have been there. But today, you can get these trips to New York and go to a Broadway play, and it's a lot easier now to see people in plays. Then, not so much. It just wasn't available until he came to you. So I'm just going to show you a few pictures of him. Here he is in Welcome Home, another one I didn't mention. Again, he looks very different. He loved to look different all the time. I'm not sure what this one is. This is an earlier one. Sometimes he had his hair, sometimes he didn't have his hair. Here's a very intense, this is probably Macbeth, but I'm just guessing. He loved Shakespeare, very Shakespearean man, another Shakespeare picture here. He did so much. The King and I would have been the one that I'm working on a portrait of Yul Brynner at the moment. I saw Yul Brynner in The King and I, but I would have loved to have seen Pernell in The King and I. There's another picture of him here with his cast members, castmates. He had nice arms. I'll give him that. I don't know if he ever worked out, but he had quite a muscular body. Another picture. Theater work. Lots and lots of theater. And good for him, because that's what he loved. Didn't really care what people thought about him, but he did what he wanted to do, and kudos to him for doing it. More pictures here. Always looking different, you know, with the hair and the facial hair and costumes and all kinds of things like that. And there's pictures of him, I don't know if I mentioned the Cuckoo's Nest, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Performed in that. And this is from Matahari, I think, with his castmates here. This was directed by Vincent Minnelli, I believe. I don't think it was very successful, though. I think it had a very short run. There's quite a few pictures of him in that. Here's an interesting one of him at the piano. I'm not sure who those lovely ladies are. And another one of Matahari. There he is with Vincent Minnelli. So, yes, a great big theater career for Pernell Roberts. And I'm just going to read you from Bonanza Gold here. He says, Roberts explained, I remember I used to say I've never walked on a stage without at least having an approach to the part. But in television, often you arrive on the set and say, let's see what we're saying to each other today. The interviewer noted that Robert's bark is a good deal worse than its bite, pointing out that the actor is an admirer and close friend of David Dortort, who replied, Pernell is more aloof, rebellious, outspoken, and analytical, a bit of his own man with his own ideas. I don't always agree, but I think his sounding off is good for his performance and for the show generally. So more power to him. Roberts also maintained that he show needed an extra day for rehearsal to learn a little bit about the material and about each other, criticizing Dortort's time-saving device of generally rehearsing only between camera setups. Wow. That's okay. Wow. Let's scream and shout at each other, but let's do it within the four walls of a room. Good things can come out of it. In the same interview, Roberts candidly admitted, I speak my mind, I sound off, I'm always asking why. Maybe it's one of my failings as a human being. It goes on to say in this article, I do want to get back to the stage. I don't agree with those who contend that you lose something that you perform perfunctorily, doing the same thing on stage night after night. Each night's audience is different, and a good actor reacts to his audience. The greatest satisfaction comes from playing to a live audience. Well, you see, yeah. So that was totally missing for him from Bonanza, that back and forth and give and take of a live audience. So that's it for Pernell's theater career. It was a long one. You can see more about it online, as well as his film career, which was not so successful, and of course his ongoing television career and on to Trapper John and FBI, The Untold Stories, I think it was called. So thanks for joining me. Please share, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.